Through technology innovations, we can really reduce the carbon intensity of everything in our lives.
Hey folks, Flo here at Scaling Up 2024. I'm here with Griffin of Munich RE. Let me start with a very simple question. I mean, we hear a lot in the news about climate disasters, and it can seem like there are more and more, but what's the reality actually of the state of the world in that sense?
Yeah, thanks, Flo, and thanks for having me again. And I think we know the world has passed the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold, which was really the tipping point that was established in the Paris Conference of Parties. Now, this is obviously leading to more frequent and more intense natural disaster events. We're seeing floods in areas that have never been flooded before. We're seeing droughts in areas that have never happened before. Now, the challenge is that we're now seeing 100-year events every 5 years, right? And so whether it's hurricanes, it's floods, it's droughts, these things are happening more frequently and more intensely. And from Munich RE perspective, we do believe that climate change is the main driver for these increasing natural disaster events.
Okay, very, very clear and somewhat concerning. We're here at a bioeconomy conference. How can the bioeconomy actually help alleviate at least some of these, concerns and risks, let's say?
I mean, the bioeconomy is coming from a truly sustainable resource. It's driven from the sun. It produces oxygen, which we need for the atmosphere. It's consuming carbon dioxide. It is truly a natural, sustainable resource. And so by utilizing biomass in the bioeconomy, we can really reduce the carbon intensity of things that are not sustainable, fossil-based feedstocks, which are limited in supply. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be able to use fossils indefinitely. And so the bioeconomy, in my view, is truly a sustainable feedstock, and through technology innovations, we can really reduce the carbon intensity of everything in our lives, not just fuels and chemicals, transportation, electricity. The bioeconomy and biomass can really do a lot for the carbon intensity of everyday life.
And for people to understand the role of an insurance company in terms of, or within this context of uncertainty and mounting risk, as you're describing yourself, what's the role of an insurance company, let's say, for a sector like the bioeconomy, for various industries, in terms of perhaps innovation or even business development? What does it allow? What problem does it solve for, essentially?
I mean, first, the insurance industry is really enabling for new and existing technologies, all the way from the feedstock supply. So there is existing natural disaster insurance, such as hurricanes or tornadoes. If it blows away a field of crops, there's actually insurance for that, really protecting just on the feedstock piece. And then we're really trying to shift the risk from investors over to the insurance company, because the investors are not climate scientists like Munich RE and the other insurance industries are. We're really trying to protect the investors so they feel safe in making investments into the bioeconomy. So really, without insurance, we're really trying to enable the energy transition. And this is really trying to de-risk and make the investors more comfortable to invest into somewhat risky, maybe the returns aren't as lucrative as other types of industries. This is where insurance is really playing a role there.
Right. And speaking of energy transition, Munich RE recently divested from the tar sands, correct me if I'm wrong. What is the broader context in which this decision was made, and what does it mean for the future?
Yeah, so not only just the tar sands, but coal as well. So Munich RE is, very active in the energy transition, assets and liability. So we have a very active investment arm, and obviously insurance as well. And so we made a position by 2030 we'll be fully exiting not only from the insurance piece, but also from the asset investment piece as well, from coal and tar sands. And the reason why we're doing this is just the overall carbon intensity of bringing these fossils, to the, above ground. It's a lot of mining, a lot of drilling, and obviously the combustion. Once you use all these fossil fuels, the carbon intensity of using those fuels is very high compared to things such as the bioeconomy. And Munich RE, again, we are really focused on the climate transition, energy transition, and climate change, and we're committed to fighting climate change any way possible. And so we feel that trying to move away from tar sands and coal, it will then make those projects in those areas more challenging to get insurance. Munich RE is not the only company that has divested away from the tar sands, as an example. And so if it's more challenging to get insurance for those types of activities, well, then investors are going to be more gun-shy into investing into those types of projects. And then, of course, those companies will actually then have to insure on their own balance sheet. And as climate change impacts worsen, these losses will become even larger. So without the insurance enabling the risk transfer, it's going to be more challenging as time goes on to really promote those activities.
Sounds like the writing is on the wall for some parts, at least, of these industries. Since you're divesting from some industries, are you investing more in other industries?
Yeah, so Munich RE, on the asset side, we're investing up over $2 billion per year in energy transition technologies, wind, solar, energy storage. We also have a venture arm as well with a very large climate tech fund. We've invested into geothermal, CO2 electrolysis types of technologies. We're very active in afforestation and reforestation as well. We're looking at carbon credit insurance as well. So we're really trying to span the entire value chain from venture investment to project capital investment, reforestation, and then obviously technology project insurance into any bioeconomy types of projects. So we're really putting in a lot of effort on both the asset and the liability side and fighting the climate change.
And finally, perhaps on a personal note, are there any key lessons that you have learned, whether they pertain to the insurance sector or just to the world, to climate change, to those events that, again, make the news and concern a lot of us? Is there anything that you can think of that you've realized over your journey?
Yeah, one thing personally is just individual behaviors. Why is there so much oil and gas production? Because we like to drive our cars, we like to buy Amazon packages, we fly around the world. A lot of the carbon intensity you see from the industry is obviously due to the consumer behaviors, right? So our individual activities is what drives the economy, but also drives these industries to produce and utilize fossil fuels. Now, one challenge I really see is that the emerging world, India and China, which clearly have the largest populations, as those countries become more industrialized and their behaviors start moving towards more Western behaviors, such as eating red meat and more travel, going on more vacations, more cars, the individual carbon intensity is going to skyrocket. So right now, unfortunately, Americans have the highest individual carbon intensity in the entire world. It's about 10x that of China. Well, that is increasing. Not only is their population, much larger than the United States, but their individual usage is increasing as well. And we're going to see the same thing in China, South America, and Africa. So while the more modernized areas like the EU and North America, we're trying to reduce our individual carbon intensity. In the emerging markets, it's increasing significantly. And I think that's going to be a big challenge that people are going to be thinking about in the next 20, 30 years. Yes, you can decarbonize industry and use the bioeconomy to reduce the carbon intensity of fuels, but what are we going to do to change or improve behaviors to reduce the carbon intensity of an individual?
Thank you very much. So you heard it, personal behavior and personal responsibility. Thank you very much, Derek. Pleasure to speak with you again.
Thank you so much.